Hello and welcome back to the WholeHearted Living podcast. I'm Debs and I'm so glad you're here. If you've been following along with series 2, you'll know we're exploring the earth element and this journey back to wholeness. Last week in episode 5 we talked about radical honesty, that foundation of getting really real with yourself about what's actually happening in your life. And I hope you've been sitting with some of those questions of, what am I pretending not to know? Where am I performing instead of being? Because here's what happens when you start telling yourself the truth. You begin to see patterns. Patterns in how you respond to stress, to conflict, to overwhelm. Patterns that have been running your life without conscious awareness. And that's what we're diving into today. Today we're exploring stage 2 of the WholeHearted Technique, which is understanding your trauma responses. Now, I know the word trauma can feel heavy, and maybe you're thinking, but I haven't experienced any trauma, nothing bad has ever happened to me. I want to gently challenge that right from the start, because trauma isn't just the big catastrophic events, though these absolutely count. Trauma is anything that overwhelmed your nervous system's ability to cope. Anything that made you feel unsafe, unseen, unheard, or unloved. And if you're human, you've experienced this. So today we're going to talk about the 4 trauma responses: fight, flight, freeze, and fawn, and how they show up in your daily life. Not in dramatic ways, but in the small everyday patterns that keep you stuck in survival mode. We're going to explore overworking, people-pleasing, numbing, hypervigilance, and all the ways your nervous system is trying to keep you safe. And here's the most important thing I want you to hear today. Your trauma responses kept you alive. They're not defects. They're not weaknesses. They are intelligent adaptations. But now it's time to help your body know it's safe. So take a deep breath. Ground yourself. Feel the feet on the floor, your body in the chair. And let's begin. So let's start by redefining trauma. When most people hear the word trauma, they think of war, abuse, catastrophic events, what we call big T trauma. And yes, those are absolutely traumatic. But there's also what we call little t trauma, and this is where most of us live. Little t trauma includes things like growing up with emotionally unavailable parents, being bullied or excluded as a child, medical procedures or hospitalizations, moving frequently or losing important relationships, being shamed or criticized repeatedly, growing up in a household with addiction, mental illness, or chronic stress, not having your needs met consistently, being told your feelings were too much or not valid. Here's the definition I want you to hold. Trauma is anything that happened too much, too fast, too soon, or for too long without adequate support to process it. It's not about what happened to you, it's about what happened inside of you as a result. Did your nervous system feel safe? Did you have someone to help you make sense of what you were experiencing? Did you have the resources to cope? If the answer is no, your nervous system adapted. It created strategies to help you survive. And those strategies, those are your trauma responses: fight, flight, freeze, and fawn. These are the 4 primary ways your nervous system responds to threat. And here's what's crucial to understand. These responses are automatic. They're not choices. They're survival mechanisms hardwired into your brainstem. When your nervous system perceives danger, real or imagined, it bypasses your thinking brain entirely and activates one of these responses. And here's the thing, your nervous system doesn't know the difference between a lion chasing you and your boss sending a critical email. It doesn't know the difference between physical danger and emotional threat. So these responses get activated constantly. In meetings, in relationships, when you're trying to rest, when someone gives you feedback, when you're faced with conflict or uncertainty. And over time, one or two of these responses become your default pattern, your go-to survival strategy. So let's break them down. The flight response is about mobilization and aggression. It's your nervous system saying, I need to fight this threat off. In a literal survival situation, this looks like physical fighting. But in daily life, it shows up as anger and irritability, snapping at people, feeling constantly frustrated, control and dominance, needing to be in charge, micromanaging, argumentativeness, always needing to be right, defending yourself of criticism. Criticism of others as well, judging, blaming, finding fault. An intense work ethic, pushing through, conquering, dominating tasks, and difficulty relaxing, always needing to be productive. If you're a fighter, you might be the person who gets angry when things don't go your way. Feels like you have to do everything yourself because no one else does it right. Has a hard time being vulnerable or asking for help. Uses anger to protect yourself from feeling hurt or scared. The flight response is often praised in our culture, especially in men. We call it driven, ambitious, strong leadership. But underneath, it's exhaustion. It's a nervous system that never feels safe enough to rest. So the flight response is also mobilization. But instead of fighting, you run. In a literal survival situation, this is fleeing from danger. But in daily life, it shows up as constant busyness, always moving, always doing, can't sit still. Overworking and overscheduling, filling every moment so you don't have to feel. Avoidance, avoiding difficult conversations, emotions, or situations. Anxiety and panic, feeling like you need to escape. Difficulty being present, always thinking about the next thing. And restlessness, feeling trapped or confined easily. If you're in flight, you might be the person who can't say no because you're terrified of disappointing people. Stays busy to avoid facing what's really going on. Feels anxious when you have nothing to do. Runs from conflict or difficult emotions. And flight often looks like productivity. It looks like success. But underneath, it's running. It's a nervous system that believes if you stop moving, something bad will happen. The freeze response is immobilization. It's your nervous system saying, I can't fight, I can't run, so I'll shut down. In a literal survival situation, this is playing dead. But in daily life, it shows up as numbing and disassociation, feeling disconnected from your body or emotions. Procrastination and paralysis, knowing what you need to do, but you're unable to do it. Brain fog and difficulty concentrating. Depression and lack of motivation. Feeling stuck, being unable to make decisions or move forward. Zoning out, so scrolling on social media for hours, binge watching, overeating. If you're in freeze, you might be the person who feels like you're watching your life from the outside. You can't access your emotions or you feel numb. Knows what you need to change but can't seem to take action. Feels heavy and tired like you're moving through molasses. Freeze is often misunderstood as laziness or lack of willpower, but it's not. It's a nervous system that's so overwhelmed it's shut down to protect you. And fawn. The fawn response is the newest one to be recognised, and it's about appeasing the threat. It's your nervous system saying, I can't fight, I can't run, I can't freeze, so I'll make myself useful. I'll make them happy so they don't hurt me. And I need to pause here and share something personal with you. I was trained as a counsellor nearly 20 years ago. I spent years studying trauma, nervous system responses, therapeutic interventions. I worked with the NSPCC, Relate, in prisons and with veterans, and no one ever taught me about the fawn response. Fight, flight, freeze, yes, those were in every textbook, in every training. But fawn, it wasn't even on my radar. And then, years later, as I was approaching burnout, although I didn't know it at the time, I was desperately trying to figure out why I felt the way I did, why I was so exhausted, why I felt so resentful, why I couldn't say no, why I felt responsible for everyone else's happiness, why I'd lost touch with my own self of what I wanted and needed. I was researching, reading, trying to understand myself. And that's when I stumbled across the fawn response. And it truly shattered my world open. Suddenly I saw my entire life through a different lens. Every time I had said yes when I meant no, every time I'd abandoned my needs to take care of someone else, every time I'd made myself smaller so others could feel more comfortable, every time I'd performed and pleased and fixed and soothed, it wasn't love, it wasn't kindness, it wasn't selflessness, it was survival. And the grief that came with that realization was enormous. I grieved for the little girl who learnt that love was conditional on her usefulness. I grieved for the young woman who built an entire identity around being the capable one, the strong one, the one who has it all together. I grieved for all the years I spent abandoning myself, believing that's what it meant to be good. And underneath the grief, there was rage. Resentment at all the people who took and took and took because I couldn't stop giving. Anger at myself for not seeing it sooner. Fury at a culture that praised my self-abandonment and called it virtue. This wasn't just an intellectual understanding, this was an identity crisis. This was a complete dismantling of who I thought I was. And if you're listening to this and recognizing yourself in the fawn response, I want you to know what you're feeling right now, the grief, the anger, the resentment, it's all valid. It's all part of the process. You're not overreacting. You're not being dramatic. You're seeing the truth for the first time, and that truth is painful. But here's what I also want you to know. On the other side of that grief is freedom. Once you see the pattern, you can't unsee it. And that's awareness. As painful as it is, it's the beginning of choice. You can start to notice when you're fawning. You can start to pause before you say yes. You can start to ask yourself, what do I actually want here? It's not a quick process and it's not easy, but it is possible. So let me tell you how fawn shows up in daily life, because once you see it, you'll recognize it everywhere. So people pleasing, saying yes when you mean no, abandoning your own needs to meet others. Over responsibility, where you're taking care of everyone else, fixing their problems, managing their emotions. Difficulty setting boundaries, where you're feeling guilty when you prioritize yourself, believing that boundaries are selfish. Loss of identity, so not knowing what you want, need, or feel outside of what others need from you. Hyper awareness of others' emotions, so you're constantly scanning to see if people are upset, uncomfortable, or unhappy. Self-abandonment, so ignoring your own feelings, needs, and desires in the service of keeping the peace. If you're a fawner, you might be the person who feels responsible for everyone else's happiness, can't stand conflict and will do anything to avoid it, doesn't know who you are outside of what others need from you, feels resentful but can't say no, and often gets praised for being so helpful, so selfless, so caring, but inside you're drowning. Fawn is often praised in our culture, especially in women. We call it caring, nurturing, selfless, but underneath it's survival. It's a nervous system that learned love and safety are conditional on your usefulness, and you deserve better than that. You deserve to be loved for who you are, not for what you do. You deserve to take up space without apologizing. You deserve to have your needs and express them. You deserve to say no without guilt. You deserve wholeness. And that's what we're working toward. Not perfection, not becoming someone who never helps or cares for others, but finding balance. Learning to give from fullness, not depletion. Learning to love others without abandoning yourself. That's the journey. And it starts with seeing the pattern. So if you're recognizing yourself in this, take a breath. Place your feet on the ground, place a hand on your heart, and say this with me. I see you. I see how hard you've worked to keep everyone else happy. I see how much you've sacrificed, and I'm here now. You don't have to do that anymore. You're safe, you're loved, you're enough, just as you are. And here's what happened next for me. And I'm sharing this because you might be experiencing this right now. When I recognized my fawn response, it activated my secondary trauma response, flight. Suddenly, I couldn't bear staying in the same place, the same work, the same relationships that had allowed or even encouraged this pattern. Everything in me wanted to run, to leave it all behind, to start somewhere new where no one knew me as the helper, the fixer, the one who always says yes. I wanted to quit my business, leave my marriage, move to a different country, burn it all down and start over. And maybe you're feeling that too right now. Maybe you're looking at your life and thinking, I need to get out. I need to leave. I can't stay here. And I want you to hear this. That urge is valid. That flight response is real. And sometimes leaving is exactly what you need to do. But here's what I learned. I needed to make that decision from love, not from fear, from alignment, not from reaction. So here's what I did. I gave myself full permission. I told myself if I need to leave everything, including my marriage, I will. No matter how hard, no matter what anyone else thinks, I will do what I need to do. That permission was crucial because it meant I wasn't trapped and I wasn't stuck. I had a choice. But I also made myself a promise. I wasn't going to make any big decisions from a place of reaction. I was going to process first. I was going to grieve first. I was going to feel the anger, the resentment, the rage, all of it before I decided anything. And in the meantime, while I was processing, I was going to make the small daily changes, the seemingly insignificant but totally significant shifts, like reconnecting with my body. I started trail running, which we talked about in episode 4. I started getting out in nature more, feeling my feet on the earth, moving the stuck energy through my body. I started setting boundaries, albeit small. I started saying no to one thing, not immediately responding to every request, taking space when I needed it. I started finding compassion with myself, which we're going to dive deep into next week. So check back. Learning to speak to myself the way I would speak to someone I love. These weren't dramatic changes. I wasn't blowing up my life. I was just choosing differently, day by day, moment by moment. And here's what happened. My life did change completely. My life and I are unrecognizable from that person who was living in constant survival mode, constantly fawning, constantly abandoning herself. But it didn't change because I ran. It didn't change because I left everything behind. It changed because I stayed and I did the work. And then I made aligned choices out of love, not trauma reactions out of fear. Some things did end. Some relationships fell away, my work transformed completely, but those changes came from clarity, not chaos, from wholeness, not wounding. And I want to say this clearly because it's important. If you're feeling that flight response right now, that urge to run, to leave, to start over, honor it. Sometimes a temporary change of environment can absolutely help. Sometimes you do need to physically remove yourself from a situation that's harming you. So getting away for a weekend, taking a sabbatical, creating distance from a toxic relationship, that can soothe your nervous system. That can give you space to breathe. But here's the truth I need you to hear. Without facing the patterns that got you there in the first place, without choosing differently, those patterns will follow you wherever you go. You can move to a new place, start a new job, enter a new relationship, and within months you'll find yourself right back in the same dynamic. Because the pattern isn't out there, it's in here, in your nervous system, in your body, in the survival strategies you learned long ago. You can't outrun trauma responses. You can only integrate them. So if you're feeling the urge to run right now, I invite you to pause, take a breath, and ask yourself, am I running towards something or away from something? Am I making this choice from fear or from love? What small daily change could I make right now while I give myself time to process. You don't have to make any big decisions today. You don't have to have it all figured out. You just have to stay present, stay in your body, and keep choosing one small moment at a time. That's how transformation happens. Not in the dramatic exit, but in the daily return to yourself. Now, here's what's important to understand. Most of us have one primary response with a secondary backup. For example, I'm primarily a fawn response with flight as my backup. When I feel threatened, my first instinct is to people please, to fix, to make everyone else comfortable. And when that doesn't work, I run, I get busy, I avoid. You might be fight flight, so pushing hard and staying busy. Or you might be freeze fawn, so shutting down and then trying to please your way out of it. And these patterns show up everywhere. At work, so the fight might be through overworking, controlling, perfectionism. Flight might be constant busyness, avoiding difficult tasks. Freeze might be in procrastination, your inability to start projects. Fawn might be taking everyone else's work and unable to say no. In relationships, fight might be criticism, defensiveness, needing to win arguments. Flight might be avoiding conflict, ghosting, emotional unavailability. Freeze might be shutting down during conflict, going silent. Fawn might be losing yourself and abandoning your needs and people pleasing. And with yourself, the fight can be that harsh inner critic, pushing yourself relentlessly. Flight can be staying busy to avoid feeling. Freeze is often numbing yourself with food, alcohol, social media, TV. Fawn is often ignoring your own needs, not knowing what you want. Can you see yourself in any of these? Take a moment right now, pause this episode if you need to, and ask yourself which trauma response is most familiar to you. And here's the compassionate truth I want you to hear. This response kept you alive. When you were young, when you were overwhelmed, when you didn't have the resources to cope, this response protected you. If you learned to fight, it's because fighting worked. It kept you safe. If you learned to flee, it's because staying busy kept you from feeling pain. If you learned to freeze, it's because shutting down was the only way to survive something unbearable. If you learned to fawn, it's because making others happy kept you from being abandoned or hurt. Your trauma response is not a flaw. It's evidence of your resilience. But here's what's also true. What once kept you safe is now keeping you stuck. So why do these patterns persist, even when the original threat is long gone? Because your nervous system is still perceiving that threat. Here's how it works. Your nervous system has 3 states, according to polyvagal theory. Ventral vagal, which is safe and social. You feel calm, connected, present. This is where healing happens. Your sympathetic, fight or flight, where you feel activated, anxious, angry. This is mobilization. And your dorsal vagal, which is freeze, shut down. You feel numb, disconnected, depressed. This is immobilization. When you experience trauma, big or small, your nervous system got stuck in sympathetic or dorsal states. And now, even though the threat is gone, your body is still bracing, still protecting, still surviving. Why? Because your nervous system learns through experience, not logic. You can tell yourself, I'm safe now, that was in the past, but your body doesn't believe you because it hasn't had the experience of safety. It's still waiting for the other shoe to drop, still scanning for danger, still ready to fight, flee, freeze, or fawn at any moment. This is what we call hypervigilance, your nervous system constantly on alert. And this is exhausting. This is why you can't even relax when you have time off, when you feel anxious for no apparent reason, when you overreact to small things, or you feel tired all the time, or you can't be present in the moment. Your nervous system is running a program from the past. And until you help your body complete those trauma responses and experience safety in your body, the pattern will continue. So how do we do this? How do we help our bodies know they're safe? This is where the earth element comes in. This is where grounding becomes essential, because safety is not a thought, it's a felt experience in the body. You can't think your way into feeling safe. You have to experience it somatically in your body. Here are the practices that help. Firstly, grounding practices. Remember the grounding practices from episode 4. This is why they matter. When you stand barefoot on the earth, do a body scan and feel your weight, use the 5-4-3-2-1 sensory technique, hum or tone to stimulate your vagus nerve, use safe touch, you're sending signals to your nervous system. I'm here, I'm in my body, I'm safe. Do these practices daily, not just when you're overwhelmed, but as a regular practice. Secondly, complete the stress cycle. Trauma responses are incomplete survival responses. Your body mobilized to fight or flee, but you couldn't. So the energy got stuck. To complete the cycle, you need to move that energy through shaking, literally shake your body for 2 to 3 minutes, through dancing, moving freely to music, crying, letting yourself feel and release, breathing deep, full breaths that move through your body, through vocalization, humming, singing, screaming into a pillow. These aren't woo-woo practices. They're how mammals discharge stress. Watch a gazelle after it escapes a lion. It shakes. It completes the stress cycle. We need to do the same. And this is exactly what I did when I was in the thick of recognizing my fawn response and feeling that overwhelming urge to flee. I started trail running, not to escape, but to reconnect, to feel my body again, to discharge the rage and the grief and the fear that were moving through me. Every time I ran, I was completing the stress cycle. I was moving the stuck energy. I was helping my nervous system know, you're safe, you're here, you're alive. And slowly over time, the urge to run from my life lessened, because I was running with my body, not from my feelings. And that's the difference between flight as a trauma response and movement as a healing practice. One is running away, the other is running towards yourself. Thirdly, befriend your trauma response. Instead of judging your trauma response, get curious about it. When you notice yourself people-pleasing, pause and say, there's my fawn response. It's trying to keep me safe. Thank you for protecting me, but I'm safe now and I can choose differently. When you notice yourself getting angry and controlling, say, there's my fight response. It's trying to protect me from feeling vulnerable. Thank you, but I'm safe now. I can soften. This compassionate awareness begins to create space between the trigger and your response. Fourthly, co-regulation. Your nervous system learns safety through connection with other regulated nervous systems. This is why therapy works, why coaching works, why safe relationships matter. When you're with someone who is calm, present, and grounded, your nervous system begins to mirror theirs. This is co-regulation. And this is why doing the work alone is so hard. We heal in relationship. If you don't have this in your life right now, that's okay. Start with listening to calming voices like this podcast, spending time with animals, being in nature, joining supportive communities. Fifthly, somatic therapy or coaching. If your trauma responses are significantly impacting your life, please consider working with a somatic therapist or trauma-informed coach. Modalities like somatic experiencing, EMDR, or the work I do with the WholeHearted Technique can help you process and integrate trauma in a safe, supported way. You don't have to do this alone. I want you to understand this about your journey. Healing trauma isn't about getting rid of your responses. It's about expanding your capacity to choose. You'll still have moments when your fight response activates, when you want to control or push through. You'll still have moments when your flight response kicks in, when you want to run or stay busy. You'll still have moments when you freeze, when you feel numb or stuck. You'll still have moments when you fawn, when you want to please or fix. But the difference is this: you'll start to notice it happening. And in that noticing, you'll have a choice. You'll be able to pause and ask, is this response serving me right now? Or is this an old pattern trying to keep me safe from a threat that no longer exists? And from that place of awareness, you can choose differently. You can choose to set a boundary instead of people pleasing. Feel your feelings instead of staying busy. Ask for help instead of fighting alone. Stay present instead of numbing. This is what it means to move from survival to wholeness. It's not about perfection, it's about presence. It's about coming back to your body again and again, coming back to the present moment again and again, coming back to the truth of who you are beneath the survival patterns. And slowly, over time, your nervous system begins to trust that it's safe. The hypervigilance softens, the constant bracing releases, the exhaustion lifts, and you start to feel something you haven't felt in a long time. Aliveness, presence, peace. Not because everything in your life is perfect, but because you're finally home in your body. So here's what I want you to do this week. Practice 1. Name your response and pay attention to your patterns. When you feel triggered, stressed, or overwhelmed, pause and ask, which trauma response is activating right now? Fight, flight, freeze, fawn, just name it. No judgment, just awareness. You might even keep a journal and track what triggered the response, which response activated, how did it feel in your body, and what did you do? This awareness is the first step towards choice. Practice 2. Complete the stress cycle. Choose one practice to discharge stress from your body. Shake for 2 to 3 minutes when you wake up or before bed. Dance freely to music that you love. Breathe deeply. So inhale for 4, hold for 4, and exhale for 6. Move your body, walk, stretch, yoga, anything that feels good. Vocalize through humming or singing, or make whatever sound feels good for you. Do this daily. Help your body know it can release whatever it's holding. Practice 3. Compassionate self-talk. When you notice your trauma response, speak to yourself with compassion. This response kept me safe. Thank you for protecting me, but I'm safe now and I can choose differently. Or simply, I'm here, I'm in my body, I'm safe. Say it out loud if you can. Let your body hear your voice offering safety. And if you have the companion guide, which I encourage you to access for free via our website at whlinstitute.com, turn to the episode 6 section. If not, grab your journal and sit with these questions. Which trauma response do I rely on most? When did I first learn this pattern? How has this response protected me? What has it helped me to survive? How is this response keeping me stuck? What is it costing me? What does my body need to feel safe right now? And if my nervous system could speak, what would it tell me? Write without censoring. Let whatever comes up, come up. This is about awareness, not fixing. Before we close, I want to leave you with this. Your body is not broken. Your nervous system is not defective. Every response, every pattern, every survival strategy, it all makes sense when you understand the story your body is telling. You are not too much. You're not too sensitive. You're not weak. You are a human being with a nervous system that adapted brilliantly to keep you alive. And now you get to help your body know it's safe. Now you get to complete what was incomplete. Now you get to move from survival to wholeness. This is sacred work. This is brave work. This is the work of coming home to yourself. And I want you to know you don't have to do this alone. If you're feeling called to go deeper, to have support as you navigate these patterns and help your body feel safe, I'd be honoured to walk alongside you. I offer bespoke coaching journeys for visionaries, healers, creatives, high achievers who are ready to break free from survival patterns and build lives rooted in wholeness. I invite you to book a free clarity call with me today via the website, and we can talk about what's possible for you. Whether you work with me or not, please know this: you are worthy of feeling safe in your own body. You are worthy of rest. You are worthy of wholeness, and it's possible for you. I promise you it's possible, from someone who has walked this journey and walked many people through it. Next week, we're moving into episode 7, Cultivating Self-Compassion, the Antidote to Shame. Because once you understand your trauma responses, the next step is meeting yourself with compassion instead of judgment. We're going to explore stage 3 of the WholeHearted Technique and learn how to hold your wounds and your wholeness with equal tenderness. You won't want to miss this one. It's full of gold. And personally, I just want to thank you for being here. Thank you for doing this work. Thank you for having the courage to look at your patterns with compassion and honesty. Remember, your trauma responses kept you alive. Now it's time to help your body know it's safe so that you can thrive. Take a deep breath. Feel your feet on the ground. Feel your whole body in the chair or wherever you are. You're here, you're safe, you're whole. Until next Thursday, be gentle with yourself. Practice grounding, and remember, you were never broken. You're simply remembering your way home. I'll see you next week.